going into the subject of live streaming. Now, I'm not talking about the TikTok live streamers. I'm not talking about the Instagram live streamers who are out there selling on TikTok shop and all that kind of thing. I'm talking about the kind of live streaming you do when you've got webinars, you've got educational material, when you've got stuff that you're bringing your expertise into, that you're then going to send that out to multiple places. It might just be one place, or it could be multiple places. You're going to look at a couple of products that do have free layers that start out with that give you a certain amount of this. But there's also what we're using right now, which is Zoom. Zoom, Teams, Google Meet are all free options that do all of this and will give you pretty much mostly free time, like Teams and Google Meet, pretty much unlimited. But in the case of Zoom, it's going to give you a little bit less of that, about 40 minutes per stream that you send out. And then, of course, this is a webinar part of Zoom. So it's something which I pay a lot of extra for, to be able to have up to 100 people attend these webinars, which doesn't sound like it's much, but tell you what, there are times when we push that limit to its absolute most. And I've been on some webinars with nearly 1,000 people on them before through very large organizations. So live streaming is one of those things that we look at in the frame of it being something that you are sharing your expertise with the world. You're doing a class, you're doing a sales call, something like that, where you may be onboarding a lot of people. So think of it as the webinar. Two very different ways to look at this, right? So I've got those slides for today. We're just going to go live into systems. So I just want to make sure you understand that that's the kind of approach we're taking. It's going to start off with looking at what Zoom webinars look like. So I'm going to log into Zoom, share my screen, and show you how that looks. So let's get that screen shared and get you underway so you can have a look inside what these what these things look like, because I guess we don't always get to see what this live stream world looks like apart from the people who are already doing it. So here is, logging into Zoom. I've logged into Zoom. I go into my area of this. So I'm just going to have to get some windows out of the way so I can actually operate this. We go into settings, and this opens up the version of Zoom, which you'll be able to see and make sure it's able to be seen the right way. It is. So you'll be able to see that there's all these settings in here. What I'm mostly concerned with is over on the left-hand side here, webinars. So if you can't see that, let me just zoom in a bit so you can see it. Webinars there. And webinars will take me into a bunch of things that I've already arranged or scheduled. Now, webinars and meetings are two very different things. Meetings have pretty hard limits on how many people can be in the meeting. And they are generally for where you're having a one-to-one or one to a small group of people, where you are perhaps wanting to have a small class environment. You want to have them interacting with you. So this is like a one to a few rather than one to many. It can have a lot more on that call, but the webinar is different. The webinar is where you have a lot more people. And it's not so much people interacting with you, that you're not doing question and answer live where they're asking questions, or it's an open classroom where people are dropping in, not interrupting, but asking questions, that kind of thing. A webinar is different. A webinar is where it's just you broadcasting that. It could be pre-recorded, or like this one, it can be live. So I'm actually on the call right now. So if you were to go and say the Q&A section, which you have the power to enable Q&A or chat for people to be able to interact with you that way. Otherwise, you can't just start speaking on this webinar. You'd have to be logged in as a host or a co-host, which is really handy because then you can have co-hosts come in and they can speak and they can present and they can share screen as well, but no one else can. So no one else is able to do that. So think about the webinar as more of I am broadcasting to you. I can interact with you through chat, but you're not chatting with me. I can go into the list of people who are on here right now and enable them to chat with me one at a time, but it's not an open call as such. It's a broadcast, kind of like TV, but you can chat with it. So very, very different as to a call on Zoom. Much the same kind of thing in Teams calls as well. Teams calls give you a lot more control over, the call and basically having people not able to be participating live in that. They can only just sort of chat if you've allowed that. So Teams doesn't really differentiate between calls and webinars, but Zoom does. It's very much different. So what I would do if I was setting up a webinar, let's say I'll schedule it over here, click on schedule, and then they try to sell you webinars passwords. You don't know why they need all that. No one really needs it. Give it a topic, give it a description, and then there might be a template that you've set up from previous webinars before, so you can easily drop that in. Set up the date, your time, how long it's going to be for, the time zone that you're in. Currently, I'm in Perth, so I'll put down the Perth time for that. Is this recurring? Is this something that happens every week at the same time? Because if it is, it will set that up so that when people register for that webinar, then they'll receive that access to that recurring iteration of that webinar. So they'll receive it for this week. They'll also get it for next week and the week after, if that's how often you're scheduling it for. You can have people register for it, or you can have them authenticate themselves, or they have to join Zoom and have a Zoom account to get in. I don't want that in any of mine. So that, to me, that's not something I really need. You should always have a passcode, because then you have people not dropping in randomly. I always turn off the telephone dial-in, because it's no point. If they have to go through a phone, they're not going to see anything that's on the screen in a big enough way to be able to do anything with what we're doing. Turning off the video, turning on the video for yourself and for the panelists. So that's people who you have invited in to call with you. And then you can enable things like Q&A, practice sessions, so you can get in there 15 minutes early, sort out everything, share screens without everyone seeing it, just with those open panelists and hosts seeing it. And then you can include a lot of different things in there security-wise. What I generally do in one of these, it will go back out of this one and into the current one that we're on. So this is the live webinar that we're on right now. So you're actually seeing how that's set up. Is that originally this would maybe see set up from another system that integrates with it. And you're about to see what that looks like very shortly as well. But in here, I've set up all the details, and there's an invite link. And that's the link that gets sent. So when you got your reminder this afternoon, or 2 days ago, or yesterday, or 3 days ago, or yesterday, you would have got that link. And that link is what I use to go into that. So we process these webinars through Humanitix, and sometimes through other systems through Eventbrite and those kind of places. And this is the link I would put in that reminder email. I've already enabled Q&A. I've got video off for all of us when we join, and I've only made the audio accessible through computers, not through a phone call where you dial into a certain phone number and get in that way. It's got a passcode, but it doesn't have the requirement for you to actually authenticate yourself. So you don't have to authenticate to join in this at all. And then there's, of course, Google calendars and all that kind of thing you can add to it. One thing you can't do with, say, for instance, if you want to schedule this through your Outlook calendar or a Google calendar, you can't schedule a webinar through there. You can only schedule meetings or calls. So just this variation here, the meeting, not the webinars. So that's just doing it through Zoom. And if you can see in Zoom, I can't show you the Zoom window that's open right now, because it actually, even if I share my entire screen for security reasons, they actually block you from seeing all that. But there's a bunch of controls in there that allow you to go into a Q&A, to actually go into the list of attendees and tap on one that allows you to then open up options. You can either bring them on to speak as well. So quite often when I do a Q&A, I'll get the person come in and explain what it is they're doing. This is very good, a very good solution. And same with Teams if you just have a small group of people. Small group of people, you send out a link, in they come. They may register elsewhere. So in the case of something like Eventbrite, Eventbrite has an integration with Zoom, and not with Teams, just with Zoom, where you can go select a Zoom webinar or a Zoom call for this specific thing that you've arranged through Eventbrite. Humanitix doesn't have that. So if you're doing ticketing through other systems, they don't tend to have that ability, but Humanitix does, which is the one we use for this digital solutions program. So that's a little bit about Zoom and the live streaming. I can go into I suppose the logistics of doing some kind of live stream or webinar, and it's really just that I'm currently using just, light in here is not incredibly good, but I'm using a fairly upscale MacBook Pro, so it's got a decent camera on it. So you can see me, you can easily see me. If I make that a lot bigger on my screen, it gets a bit pixelated and blurry. So what I always like to do is first of all go and get a cloth and wipe the lens. So quite often the lens gets smudgy from all day usage, and already that's giving me more detail and it's a little bit less hazy. So I've wiped off all the grot of the day, and so you can see me a lot more clearly. Now you might have an external webcam that sits on top of your computer. You would do the same. Just wipe that lens to make sure that people can see you nice and clearly. You also notice I've got a little microphone here. So the little microphone connects through to a connector that's on here. I've got a DJI Mini Pro, whatever it is, DJI something. To me, it's a superior sound. I can carry this little tiny thing in a little box like this size that I can take around Australia with me rather than having to cart around my big microphone, which is sitting in my home office, and another big one that's sitting in my office as well. That gives us a chance to be able to do, to be able to take these things all around and be able to, for me to be able to work in a semi-professional environment, no matter where I'm staying, including in a pub in Inglewood in Western Australia right now. And look, the picture's okay, but most importantly, people will forgive a not so clear picture of you as long as the audio is nice and clear. So you can probably hear that audio is coming through pretty well at the moment. There's not a lot of really horrible stuff coming through. It's actually coming through really, really well. So we're good with that. What we don't necessarily have is the best lighting with all the lighting around us. And I had a conversation today with someone who's actually on this call right now, who we were talking about the different kinds of, like, the authentic kind of presentation or the very polished presentation, depending on what you're selling and who you are and what your brand values are. It could be really important for you to have a really good background behind you. So what a lot of people will do when they're doing a live stream through Zoom is they'll throw on a background. And sometimes the backgrounds look okay. You can just blur the background. So for instance, you can't necessarily tell that there's a kitchen just behind me there, and then there's just a plain wall here. This is only because this is the one place in the entire apartment where there's a table that's near a PowerPoint. So I'm over there. So you can blur the background if you've got people walking around behind you and you don't want to have them show on the screen. What I can also do is do this auto framing. So auto framing means if I sort of, it makes sure that it's put me in the center of this. So it's not going to be in a place where I'm, too much to one side or too much to the other. It's going to frame it in that one section. I've taken that off now. So it would be a little bit different. I'll just change that now at the level that I'm running. I've got some settings on my Mac as well, which allow me to do this weird thing where you can, lean over to the left and the right. It's called center stage. So that's zooming in and putting me right in the center, a little bit too close to my liking. If I lean over here, it's going to automatically follow me over here and then over here. These things, I think, are more distracting than what they are useful. I generally turn it off. I don't feel like the need for it is there. But what I do is just make sure that perhaps if I'm someone who's like doing a lot of gesturing and pointing at things and leaning over, that might be something that's useful for you if you want your camera to follow you. A lot of people have got external cameras, especially the DJI Pocket Mini, which is this great little thing on a stand, and it actually follows you around. So you can walk pretty much within a range of about 180 degrees, and that camera will turn around and follow your face. Kind of creepy, but also kind of cool because it allows you to be able to do product demonstrations or something which involves not sitting at a laptop computer, but putting a computer over there and you interacting with an environment here. So if you're showing off a car, showing off a house, doing a product demonstration where you're going, here is the thing, and the thing's over here, and you're pointing to it, and it's a bit out of screen, that will help to balance where it sees you. So these are little things you might want to do. You might want to throw on a ring light or something, or a filler light. I got a fill light and a ring light at my home office where I can just add that little bit more into here. But really what I do with these is less about this picture of my head on a screen, and it's more about sharing things on my screen because I'm a trainer. So I do a lot of live demos like we're going to do tonight. So you won't usually in most of these live streams necessarily see a face. You might see a shared screen, which of course looks a bit like this. I share it. So you'll see a screen and it will share that screen. And in my case, when I'm streaming live, I'm streaming a demonstration. So that's Zoom. What I want to show you now is a couple of different ones, and it's only a short little one tonight, so I won't overdo the time with you, is a couple of systems that allow you to connect through to send streams to different platforms. So for example, if I wanted to go to LinkedIn and I wanted to be able to do a live stream, I can go to, okay, maybe, have a live stream. I would need to have in LinkedIn a premium account. Only premium account holders can live stream on LinkedIn. So if you're looking to do something which is a live stream, it's organized through an event in LinkedIn, because yes, LinkedIn has events just like Facebook does. Do you see it? Events. And then I can go in and set up an event, create an event from here. And in there, you're putting, your cover image like you would do with anything. Is it in person, online? Online? Well, you're doing it as a LinkedIn Live. So you can set it up here. And then you will be able to plug into LinkedIn Live from one of these other things. So Zoom will do it. Restream will do it. StreamYard will do it. Riverside FM will do it. There's a lot of different programs that will do it. You'll see a couple of those tonight. But when you've got these other systems, they can actually plug into all those things you're doing, all those different channels you want to send it through. And then one of the examples is probably StreamYard, which is one of the most popular because it's very easy to do and it's very simple to use and has a pretty generous free layer inside it. So let's just say I'm inside my StreamYard. I can either record something without going live, so I'll record it for later. I can do an on-air webinar, so hosting a professional webinar where I've got screen shares and all that, or I can live stream. And this is probably what we're going to look at, the live stream. What's important in here is I can pre-record it, or I can go live. So I can go live with a pre-recorded video that I've already placed in this system. Let's just say it's a 2-hour video. I don't want to do that video live every time, but I'm happy to be cooking and cleaning and all that. And if questions come up in the chat, I can chat on there as if I'm doing the free thing, which is what a lot of these onboarding calls for like a lot of big groups and cohorts will do, rather than you having to be there and professionally presenting this every time. I don't have the luxury of doing that because the particular programs I work with require you to be there live. So even though I'm not in person in Queensland right now, I'm live broadcasting into Queensland from Western Australia right now, or it could be from the Northern Territory or wherever I happen to be that week. So the studio then is where we'll select where we want to send this. Now, I've previously set up different destinations that we can go to. So we can go to X, we can go to, that's Twitter. I can go to YouTube, so I can select YouTube, give the live stream a title when it goes to YouTube and go, let's say it's test live, or we'll call it something better than that. We'll post it live streaming, getting started with live streaming or something like that. There's a reason why I always talk to my computers, because my typing is absolutely terrible when I'm under pressure. Here we go. Getting started with live streaming, do a bit of a description. This is what's going to show up on your live streamed YouTube video or Facebook video, so that one, or into LinkedIn. Now, the free version of this will only do to one of these channels. So I'd have to turn off YouTube, turn on LinkedIn in order to do a LinkedIn one. If you have a scheduled stream, you can add a thumbnail as well. So you schedule it for a certain time. But again, you can only do one of these destinations at a time. For you, that might be okay. What it does, it gives you the opportunity to do some really cool things. So I can set that up to go to any one of these different places. Let's just send it to maybe this one, turn off that one, turn on this one. I can go test stream. Pretty much no one follows that page anyway, so we can go in that landscape, or you can do portrait. So if you want to do something which is going to appear on small phone screens, you can change it over to a specific ratio. You can schedule it for later, and it allows us to add a thumbnail. That thumbnail will be inherited into the event in this case, Facebook. But if you're using either LinkedIn or X or Twitch or YouTube, any of those kind of channels, even Instagram, you will be able to set the thumbnail for that live event before you go live. And you can correct with AI and do all those things as well. So if we were to save this live stream, we're going to go live with it. I'm not going to schedule it forever. I'm going to create a live stream that I'm going to go live with now. So you'll see what this looks like. So a description is required. Test stream only. I've got a test stream account, so I'm probably better off using that rather than this one. There we go, Darwin streaming test page. Test stream here. This is a test. I don't actually want people coming and watching this test. And then I can create the live stream. So it's connecting through my connection I've previously set up with Facebook. So I've previously authorized Facebook to be connected through to StreamYard. So it's creating this live stream. I think it's got, I need to reconnect it because it's lost my connection. So I need to reauthorize my connection with Facebook. I haven't used StreamYard for a while. I tend to use the next tool we're going to look at, which is Restream. The StreamYard's where I started when I was doing some live streams through multiples. Now, the reason why I can't, okay, I don't reach the criteria, so I have to use a different page to do live streams in. So we'll try it again with a different live stream. So test stream, test, and create live stream. And of course, it's lost my connection again, so I need to log in. So it's got a lot of security in there to make sure that you are the person who's going live, because the last thing you want is weirdos going live on your page for you. So this page should be allowed to let me live stream to it. So let's see if it comes through. Yep, it's authorized. So I can now go live on that page. So what we do is we're going landscape. Let's create the live stream. Now, this isn't going live. It's entering a studio. And Restream and Riverside have all got this kind of thing as well. So I'm going to allow my cam access. So allow it. So I can come through here. You can see my microphone's working. It's using the MacBook Pro microphone. I'm just going to change that around to, yeah, my MacBook camera is fine. My audio, I'm going to change the DJI Mic Mini. So it's using the same microphone that I'm using for the call that we're doing. So I can see that. I can put a display name of my name. And then we're going to enter the studio. We're not going live. We're just entering the studio where we can set things up to live stream with. So what I could do is I can set up, I've got the StreamYard logo in the top there because I'm on the free platform at the moment. I'm not paying for this one. But as you can see, I've also inserted my logos in there. I've got a live and it clicks my old company logo from a couple of years ago in there. And if I want to get rid of that StreamYard logo, I've just got to upgrade to a paid account. It's about $25-ish a month to do that, $25 US to do that. And it also lets you go from 720p, which is like standard definition on a television. So what a lot of people would watch on, when they're watching Home and Away, for example, or probably a bit more contemporary, Married at First Sight. But you can go up to 1080p or even 4K if you've got a paid subscription to this. So it allows you monthly to access that. You can go higher resolution and you can go to multiple different channels. In this case, we're only going to Facebook, but we could go to a Facebook page. We can go to a LinkedIn profile. We can go to a YouTube channel as well. All these places we could go to because we have the paid version, but we don't in this case. So we're not going to do that. All we're going to do is look at this one. Someone just asked what the name of the brand of the mic I'm using. It's a DJI Mic Mini, a DJI Mic Mini. It's a pretty clear one. Like this one is really good. It's very clear. It's much more clear than the Rode microphones that I usually use. Well, the Rode microphones are a bit better these days than what they were when I got my one. So as we look at this, we can then start to add things to this screen. So remember, I'm not live yet. I'm not going live on the internet yet. I'm just setting up my studio. So what I can do in this studio is over on the right, I can look at banners and I can say, show this banner. It could be the date, or I can hide that one, or new features on Instagram. I can create these banners. So I'm going to get rid of a bunch of these banners. I'm going to create my own one. So as if you wanted to have, say, a title for what you're doing, which is getting started with live streaming. I can chuck that banner in. I can have it scrolling across. So let's add it. And I can show it. And this is what it says. Getting started with live stream runs like a, they call it a chaser at the bottom of the screen. I can hide that. I can reset that to not be running across the screen. I just want it to sit at the bottom of the screen. So let's save that, turn it on. And now it's just getting started with live streaming. You get a lot of different actions with that. I've got some media assets in here. So I've got this particular little logo on there. If I pay for this, that StreamYard logo will go away, but I can add another logo in there. But I can only do that again if I upgrade to the paid one. I can have one in here, but not many of them. So I can get rid of that one, add another one, but that was one I added before and it kept it. but now that I'm not paying, I don't get that. I can place it on the left or on the right, doesn't really matter. So what I can do is probably, I've got my one over here. I'll have this on the left. And then I can add video clips. These are all upgradable things. You can have countdowns. You can have loops that run in the background. I can have different colors in the background. I've got leaves. I can add more backgrounds in there. So for instance, this could be my background, which looks lovely. But of course, there's one really major thing that's missing in this. Me, I'm not in there until I click down in the bottom left over my name and my picture and go add to stage. And now I'm on the live stream window. So I'm not live streaming yet, but I'm on the window. That's great. I'm talking, I'm live streaming. I'm putting this out on Zoom at the moment. It's also going out live streaming. Once I click go, I could be going live on Facebook. But what if I got a guest? Well, my guest will come in when I add them in here. So I can add another guest down the bottom here where presenter invite. And then I can flick my screen from single to double or like this. It won't show because I'm the only guest in there at the moment. But what I really want to do is start to sharing screen. So you can split your screen so you show a little photo of yourself. And to give you an example, if I was live streaming this particular moment right now on this particular app I'm doing, I could go and add something else in here. So what I want to do is present or invite. So I'm going to present a share screen with one of these options in here. So what I might do is share the tickets. No, probably not that. It's got private information in it, but we might share my LinkedIn profile. So I'll share LinkedIn. So now I can see that. What you can see is a little bit of that on Zoom, but what I want to see is what that looks like on my studio. So look, I can see that in the studio. I can see that I'm sharing this screen. If I go over to that, if I make this a bit smaller and go onto the other screen, I can start to interact with that. So I can go to my LinkedIn profile and make that a bit smaller, and then find the right one that I'm sharing. If I can find it. Sometimes these things, there we go, that might be it. Maybe not, but I can interact with that. So I can make myself a bit bigger. I can get rid of me down the corner. I can get rid of me altogether and only show the live stream on there. Or I can add myself in with the live stream small. And if I'm presenting and going, okay, let's go now and have a look at this page, I can then go into there, click on maximize, and it'll flip over to just the screen. So as we're presenting, you get that picture of little screen picture on picture, then big picture on picture. Then I'll go, okay, back to me to talk again. What we do is this, and you see how it jumps in between those two levels. So that's the kind of thing you get in these live stream systems you don't really get in Zoom or Teams, is this ability to become a producer of what you're doing. A lot of people get very overwhelmed with this. It's too much for them to do. So they go, oh, no, this is too much. I can't do this. Oh, I can't do this. But what they don't remember is that this is, very professional stuff. This is the stuff that you can do that's going to be a lot more professional to people in the background. You got a background, you've got some fairly decent lighting going on, and you can then flick between what is going to be the thing that you're doing the most of. Back again to the small version of me, and then no version of me, and then we can just flip around between these different things, and then go back to when you want to talk to people, and then back to present what's on the screen. So as you're talking and you get used to these tools, that's the kind of things you can do with it. So if I just kill that sharing now, it's just me talking, and then I can add in a different share. I can then bring in a person that I've invited, or even just have an image in the background. If I want to share an image, which is maybe, I don't know, picture of me. Oh, my staff member, Juliana, actually. I'm going to share Juliana. So that's going to share a picture of her. There's Juliana. And then I can, make her really big. I can make her really small, where I'm the bigger version of that. Here's Juliana. You get to meet her if you're ever working with me in Brisbane. She's often the person who helps me out in Brisbane. And then you've got that ability to be able to share just an image, and then I can remove that. And as I'm presenting, you would only be seeing what's in that window. You wouldn't be seeing all this extra stuff. This is like your studio where you're playing with things. And there's widgets. You can add polls in there at the same time. The problem is, though, these polls need someone to log into this StreamYard stream. They won't be able to interact with these interactive elements like polls if they're watching it through LinkedIn or through Facebook or something like that. So that's where it gets a little bit weird. It's not as easy a thing to follow as what it might be for others. So yeah, that's a little bit around that. It gives you, hopefully you are able to see some of that. I'm just going to minimize some of my screens and come back to the beginning again and stop sharing my screen. So that's a little bit of a look at StreamYard. StreamYard, if I'm honest, it's probably the best place to start if you're going to do live streaming, because it will connect to Instagram, it will connect to LinkedIn, it will connect to YouTube. I think TikTok, you can go through there as well through some of these. And the main ones really LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube is where you really want to be able to do your live streaming to. It's a very simple interface. I think a lot simpler than Restream, which is what I use. I use Restream because it just does a few extra things that I prefer, even though I don't often do the live streaming as much as I used to. So what I'm going to do, I share my screen again. We're going to look at what Restream looks like. So I'm going to shut down StreamYard, shut down Zoom, shut down. I'll keep my LinkedIn open. Restream, on the other hand, is it's a bit darker. You can make it a bit brighter, I suppose. And we have workspaces. So in my workspace of home, my default workspace, I can set up a new stream over here on the right. And in that stream, I can say, I'm doing it from the studio. So that was very much the same as what StreamYard does. Or I can plug it directly into things like Zoom. So for instance, if Zoom is already the webinar that I've got set up through Eventbrite, which automatically goes out to you, or the webinar that you're watching right now, I could plug into this and stream it from the Restream studio. You could set that up. Now, there's a little bit of like codes you have to get from one place and put it into another. So we won't cover that so much. It's really more if you want to pre-record your live stream there. So if you want to pre-record it, save it in their save settings, and then you can have that recurring webinar coming up every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. that helps people onboard to your products or services. Or we can go up to the Restream Studio, which is very, very similar to what the StreamYard Studio is. So let's click on that, see what it does. We're going to Restream Studio. It's setting the stage. It's opening up this. I don't pay for this either at the moment. But when I do start doing a lot more live streams, I'll be paying for this again. Very similar pricing to StreamYard, about the same, really. Okay, so it's going to say, you need to access the camera. Great. You can have people come into here as you can copy an invite link for people to come and watch the stream through here. You don't have to then be broadcasting on other networks, but you want to use your social platforms for what they're good at, which is getting that beyond into other people. So I have my name there. We're going to have a title in there so you can see how that's set up. I can make sure I'm using the right one. So the DJI Mic Mini and my camera, a separate camera that will be in that list as well. Enter the studio. Remember, I'm not going live yet. I'm just going to set myself up, setting up my environment that I'm going to use inside this studio. So what this is giving me is a picture of what it looks like if I was on a mobile on the left or on a desktop on the right. So it's a little bit more sophisticated, this studio. I can also see the different layouts. So for instance, if I had a little thing with a big thing in the background, let's share our screen again just to see what that looks like. I think I'm in this one. There we go. So this one will then, again, share that little version. So I can go into the picture-in-picture and go, I want to maximize the thing I'm sharing and then minimize it again. And then it's actually showing me, or I want to go full screen with me and get rid of that altogether, coming back, and it brings up the share again. Or I can move things around in here. So I can go, okay, drag and drop things so that the different things are showing where I need them to drop. I can pick up me again, drop it in there. And so that's how I'm sort of controlling it. Again, very, very similar to what the others do. Or you can have the picture-in-picture where there's a little picture of me down the bottom right, and then the rest of it there, you can go a picture on the side, which I think a lot of people feel more comfortable with because they can actually see themselves. And I think when you're doing live streaming, you are going to be a little self-conscious. So you might want to be able to see what it is you look like. If you've got a big booger hanging out of your nose, you want to just wipe that away before too many people see it, or something like that. Really similar here. And what we were doing here is it's got 1080p in its free version. And it's also got the ability to record it locally to your computer. They've got a live clipping tool, which allows you to take a long webinar that you might be doing, or a long live stream, and it will automatically look for the highlights and clip them into short 60-second videos. So this is a way of kind of cutting down. And again, this is only in the paid version. You can try it out though. which allows you to then turn your long videos into a series of short videos for TikTok and Instagram Reels and all those things. So if you're big into that whole idea of repurposing some of your stuff, that's great. You can do that. If I want to go live, I can go live up here. I can also set other scenes. So this is the welcome scene. I can set a different scene, which is a different camera. So if I've got multiple cameras, I can bring in another camera. Again, that's on the paid version. You've got a lot of podcasters do that. You've got the camera coming straight at the presenter, but then they've got a camera over there getting the side view of the presenter. So they often have the cameras going and you can orchestrate which camera you want to run at what time. So there's that opportunity as well. And then you can add guests in. So you can give them copied instructions to come in as a co-presenter with you in that live stream. So you're not having to get them to go onto LinkedIn or YouTube or anything like that. You give them an invite from here, and that brings them in. So you can have them co-presenting with you as well. You can add lots of other things, like you can add the backgrounds, the presentations, the videos, extra cameras. You can load video from your own machine and play it from your local machine to broadcast out. You can have placeholders for people. So a participant placeholder might be, there's their placeholder there. You can design that or replace it with something which, there's a participant coming, but they're currently not in there. We can't add a participant because we don't have the paid version. So that's not available to us. Settings you can put in here, things like setting your particular video settings you want to do. You can set your video resolution to something that's much more high definition. So you do have high definition. Or what do you want to do with your recordings? Do you want to record them in the cloud or record them locally? Like a Zoom call allows you to record it in the cloud, or you can record that locally as well. So you've got lots of different options in here. Again, you've got graphics you can play with. I can put in my logo. I can't do that because I'm not paying at the moment. We can put the little background thing, breaking news. You can set up your own ones. So this would be great. So for instance, at the end of it, when you're saying goodbye to people, you could have a thanks for watching come up, and then you get rid of that and turn it off. I don't know how useful these sparkly stars are going to be for you, but why not? I like a few sparkly stars or some moving graphics that they've got in here too. If you want to celebrate something, you can then add that little bit of personality there, or even add in a background. Some of the backgrounds like this are a moving one. I'd find that really, really distracting if I was on this webinar. Or you can just have static ones that don't move at all, like this one that stays very still. So they've got lots of graphic opportunities. You can brand it the way you need to brand it. So at the moment I can only do Restream, but I can't add my own because I'm not paying for it at the moment. Other widgets, just like our friends from StreamYard, they got a poly market ticker, which is terrible, which means the betting thing. But if you've got other tickers you want to add in there, like a widget that lives somewhere else, you can bring that in here as well. But it's a very new feature, and I think it's a bit buggy at times. You can put in a chat here that people have to be watching this through here. It doesn't integrate well or reliably with the chats on things like YouTube or on LinkedIn or any of those sort of places. It just doesn't work that well. There's also music you can add in the background. We can, put in some AI generated music in the background, or you can upload a track that you've got yourself that's yours. And then you can set sort of themes. So you can have a theme that's like basic. You can have a theme that's like newsy, a theme that's like rounded. Just different ways that it's going to show it. So let's say that pill rounded that's there, you can then hide that particular thing. So you can do a little bit more within Restream. But I think really, if you're looking at doing a live stream for the first time, StreamYard doesn't have as many options, and that's probably a good thing. You won't become quite so overwhelmed quite as easily. But you can add all the same channels. So I can add channels over here. I can add, it's previously been hooked up to different accounts of mine. So let's just say if it's from my particular LinkedIn account, so I can reconnect to my LinkedIn account, put in my password, all that sort of thing. In we go. And then that will say, oh, yeah, you can do that. I've got to go to LinkedIn and I've got to go to my email address and get myself a quick little verification code. So I'll put that one in. Doesn't matter. It's a one-time usage, so it doesn't matter if you see that. There we go. So we've got that. We allow, and that will now let us in and say, oh, yes, okay, now you've got the option of going live with your LinkedIn account. So it hasn't quite refreshed just yet. Should any moment now. So I can turn that on by going on. And that now enables that. So I can now go live with that. I can also connect to an event that's already in my LinkedIn. So if I've already created an event in LinkedIn, I can connect through to it as well. Edit the settings, put in those details. What I can even do is create the LinkedIn event here, or the YouTube event, or the Facebook event. I can create it within here, put in the details of the new event post, the title, description, the landscape, even the thumbnail, and save. And then that will then create a corresponding event in those systems. StreamYard does that as well. So Restream's very good at that. It's very accurate. You just might not like the limitations of what you can put in there. And with a native event on something like LinkedIn, you can have a much greater amount of description in the event. With this, you've got a very short amount of words you can use in the description. So you'd use your word economy, be very careful with the words you use. And then we will go live. That's where we go live and go live on it. And we use all these tools to orchestrate our presentation, whether we want to flick from different camera layouts or whether we want to go into that one or this one. It's got a few different options in here, and you're orchestrating what you want your live stream to look like. So you're like a professional podcast or TV show. So for example, doing a podcast, there'll be you in the middle. You might be sharing a bit of screen on the left, or it could be another participant. It could be 3 participants. And what you will be doing is going, okay, well, this participant's speaking now, so full screen on them. Then we minimize them and go back to the multi-screen. And this person over here is talking, so we'll have them doing that. Then we'll minimize them again, go back to all of them, and then back to this one. So it allows you to become a director of your own live stream. Again, that might be a little bit overwhelming for some people, but it's one of those things you get a little bit better at it as you're going. Like, for instance, I'm running a live stream over on Zoom at the moment. Plus, I'm also orchestrating this on a shared screen, which is also doing a pretend practice version on another lot of things. It's like an inception of things within things here at the moment. And that's good. You can get used to this. It's just a matter of doing it really simply the first time, which is why I probably tend to tell people, do it on StreamYard first. StreamYard's got less options, less setup. It's a little easier to get going, but it allows you to get that feel for it. You might then go, you know what, I'm ready to graduate to Restream now, so I'll swap my subscription over. Or you might get enough out of StreamYard. You never know. Or you might just say, look, people can just register on Zoom. I don't want to do all this stuff. All I want to do is share my screen, share my face, and that's it. Don't want to do anything else. That's fine too. In fact, that's probably the best place to start. Start with Zoom or with Teams or something that you know that you already have some control over. And as you get a bit more fancy pantsy, you might want to add in some extra screens and extra cameras. And I want to have guests in here. And I want to be able to make it look professional. So I'm flicking from one person to the other person, then across all 3 people all at once. That's when you start upgrading to these. Now, the free versions give you a certain amount of that, not a lot of it. But if you start paying for it, you're getting essentially a recorded TV studio system of sorts where you become the TV producer. What a world we live in. You can have your own TV show now. It's crazy. As someone who definitely grew up in a time before there was ever a YouTube, I look at these things now and go, man, we live in the most amazing world and most amazing time. So it's got its downsides, but it's also got some incredible upsides. So how do you feel about live stream? Is this something you can take on? It's one of those things you can certainly do in the digital solutions program. You can get help with how you might want to upload your pre-recorded videos in here. You might want to, use it to create little videos. Like, for instance, I showed you before, you can, in Restream, you can break up those long videos into short videos just using their own tools within Restream. Get a certain amount of credits per month. You can load it up to all those different places. Or even if you just want something which is going to allow you to be able to, I don't know, maybe get an easier way to be able to just do something different with your live streaming, that you want to do something which is going to be a little bit easier for you to be able to manage. If you're able to do that and you're able to get your head around it, there's a digital solution that will help you to do that as well, whether it's Restream, YouTube, or not YouTube, Restream. It could be StreamYard. It could be just using plain old Zoom and Microsoft Teams. What I will show you, though, I'll share you this, is dedicated help for your business. which is, I think, it's not even sharing at the moment because I'm getting confused with what things I'm sharing and where. God, it even happens to the best of us when we have these things go wrong. So let me share that screen again. There we go. If this is something that you think might be something you want to have a session with somebody, myself or one of the other amazing advisors we've got on this system, we're about to onboard another 3 people in Western Australia, another 2 or 3 people in Queensland as well, and someone in the Northern Territory. So they're all coming on board in this next week. So you'll be able to choose from lots of different people, or me as well. Doesn't really matter. I won't get jealous. I promise you, I won't get jealous. I'm not a jealous guy. Then you can use this QR code or that particular short URL down there that will get you through to reading more about how you can access up to 5 hours of dedicated service and advice from someone who knows what they're doing in this stuff for 110 bucks. 5 hours for 110 bucks. I can tell you that's not what they pay us. So that's a really, really good deal. They're working out at less than, about $20, for a way to be able to get yourself the expert help you need. It doesn't have to be live streaming. It can be social media. It can be cybersecurity. It can be building a website. It could be using the magnificent world of AI that I was playing around with someone today, showing them some of the things that are possible. You pick out what you want to attach, and then all you need to do is just book yourself in. That way, you're able to get hold of that program thanks to the Australian government and our delivery partner, Busy Business.